All right, everybody, and welcome to the Pro Wrestle Zone podcast. I got a very special guest today, Louis Carlan of Shooting Up North and the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network, and now BodySlam.net. How's it going?
I'm doing good. Good to be here. How are you doing today, Rick?
I'm doing awesome. It's a wonderful Sunday morning, so it's beautiful.
Beautiful, yeah. It's a little past Sunday morning. It's afternoon.
Sunday afternoon. yeah, I guess you're right. So you've been a lifelong fan, as have I. And, wrestling is just something that I absolutely love. Even at I'm approaching 50, I still watch. It's almost every day. There's something new on every single day of the week that's interesting. But what made you get into this wonderful world of wrestling? How did you discover wrestling, really?
Oh, wow. I tell this story often. It's my grandfather was a big Bruno guy. Bruno Sammartino, big Bruno guy. I remember 77, 78. I was at his house. And wrestling was on in the afternoon. I don't know if you remember wrestling on WOR, Channel 9. Used to be on midnights. But if the Mets were on a West Coast swing, it would be on like noon. So this is one of the days it must have been on a noon. My grandfather's watching, and I'm running around the house. I'm like, his apartment is like 70 years old. He's like, and he goes, hey, Louis, do you know who Bruno Sammartino is? I'm like, no, I don't. He goes, sit down. He's coming on. Right. So I sat down because he didn't want any distractions because Bruno was coming on. I watched it and boom, I watched Bruno, and it was just something about Bruno Sammartino that drew me to him. And it's like, what the hell is this? I got to watch more of this. And then it just progressed from there, man.
I loved it. I think for me, it was in the beginning, obviously, it was Hogan because that was the era that I grew up in. So it was really like probably 10 years later, probably, I'm guessing. Right. Not even, actually, because you said 77, so...
Well, it's about 77, 78, yeah. Well, Hogan came in as a heel in 79, late 79.
Right, yeah. He was with Blassie then. And
he was with Blassie, yeah.
Yep. I go back and watch those old shows all the time, those 70s and 80s WWE shows on me.
I love them.
Yeah, they're just presented. Wrestling was presented very different back then than it is today. It was treated like it was, like a sport. Now everything is a show. They got a show. You know what I liked about the wrestling back in the day? This is always something that irks me in a way, and it was a Vince thing. This is how it started, is that the ring was focused on, and there was the lights, the arena was darkened, and then there was just a light above the arena. Now, ever since Vince in the 1980s, just had to focus on how many people were in the building watching that show.
Yeah, and how much fireworks, all the fireworks in there. Come on, I just wanted to watch a professional wrestling match. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I could see for like a big event, but now they do it every week, like every single TV show, and it's just like, man, it's got to be expensive, and it's just, it takes away, like the perception of wrestling is different because of all that fireworks and the story and all that stuff. It's completely different. It's kind of I guess you can say aggravating in a way because they don't really focus on the actual wrestling part of. I mean, in WWE, I should say. I'm not going to say other companies, but we'll probably talk about other companies as well.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'll put it this way. I'd rather watch Quick Draw Rick McGraw against Magnificent Morocco from 1982 than just about anything that WWE puts out today.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. I much prefer it back then with the territories and everything.
Yeah, I think a lot of us older fans, that's how we look at it. I know you still watch a lot of wrestling, but I know you're not necessarily a huge WWE fan. You don't actually. I don't think you watch it at all, right?
No, they kind of lost me. As a fan. I watched up until like Stone Cold and The Rock, and then after they left, it just kind of got stale. And then when WCW went out of business and there was no competition, it just the product, in my opinion, just got stale. And they just lost me as a fan. And then I started watching New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA came out, now Impact Wrestling, of course, and they kind of drew me in, and I kind of I've never had any interest in. I mean, I check out WWE once in a while, but there's really nothing there that has my attention that would make me want to. Oh my God, I got to watch this, right?
Not like the 1990s, the Attitude Era,
Yeah, no. I mean, Steve. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I cut you off.
No, it's just like it's one of those things that's like you said. There's nothing saying I have to tune in. Oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Next week's going to be insane. There's nothing like that, and I think the brand split actually helps it even less. You know what I mean? It doesn't even that has no interest. I have no interest in split rosters. It's kind of aggravating in a way because it's just a Raw, SmackDown, and they're all under the WWE banner. They should all just be, on the same shows.
Yeah, of course. I mean, they got so many. I think they have NXT also. They have too many shows, too many things going on. I'd rather watch New Japan Pro Wrestling. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I enjoy me some New Japan as well. I've been keeping up on Impact a little bit more lately. Obviously, I think I told you the other day we got tickets to go see Victory Road.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So,
good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. This will be my second TNA or Impact pay-per-view. Excuse me. I went to Bound for Glory in 2018, and I have to say that literally that was probably one of the best live shows I've ever been to.
You mentioned Impact Wrestling. I should mention I'm a huge Impact Wrestling fan as well. I love Impact Wrestling. Steve Macklin is just absolutely a tremendous competitor. It's a shame Josh Alexander's out, but he'll be back soon. But they just keep knocking it out of the park. But nobody keeps paying attention. Nobody pays attention to them because you got AEW, Tony Khan signing the flavor of the week. Almost every week. But more and more people should get onto Impact Wrestling. I just wanted to give my plug to Impact Wrestling. Great show.
I have to agree with you. I think it's a terribly underrated company. I mean, I just watched, was it last week's episode? Not this previous week, but the week before. Was it Saban and Mike Bailey in a match? I have to say that match was fire. Like literally, it was beginning 10. I think they went about 15 minutes or so, and I couldn't believe what I was watching on TV because it's like, Impact gets a lot of flack for a very long time. They had a very strange period.
Yeah, they did.
There was a time I didn't watch it for 8 years. I'll tell you that because if you remember the 10-10-10 episode that they kept hyping, it was just Bischoff and Hogan talking for an hour straight before any matches happened. And I didn't turn it on until 2018 when everybody was gone and it was kind of like a reboot in a way. But they struggled a little bit. The crowds weren't necessarily big. They were in smaller buildings and. But now it seems like the last year or so they've been really building up and getting a lot better.
Yeah, they got a tremendous roster right now. And you mentioned Hogan and Bischoff. When Hogan and Bischoff came in, it was like they were trying to turn TNA into WCW 2.0, but it didn't work out. It didn't work out, obviously, because Hogan left and Dixie Carter wound up selling. But what they're doing now, Scott D'Amore has done, in my opinion, Scott D'Amore has done an absolutely fantastic job. And I just hope more eyes get onto the product because they're just knocking it out of the park with each show.
Yeah, I think Under Siege.
You're still there.
Yeah, I'm still here. Under Siege just happened. So the PCO and Steve Macklin match I thought was an amazing match.
The cut that Steve Macklin got, my goodness. That wasn't supposed to happen either. He got cut the hard way with that, man. He got hit with that cookie sheet, sliced him right open, and blood. It was all over the place. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was crazy. And literally, the part where he stapled PCO's mouth shut with the staple gun, and I sat there and I'm not necessarily a guy that's into hardcore wrestling. I really love my traditional style of grappling, I guess you could say, but. That match really had me sucked in after a minute or so because it was just insane.
It was insane, but I'm with you. I'm not into the death matches. This was close to being a death match. But it's PCO. I mean, he's got to excite the crowd. He's got to wow the crowd, and he's our age. He's like in his 50s. I can't believe he's still doing what he's doing without. I mean, if I stub my toe, I'm out for 3 days, man. And he's doing backflips off the top turnbuckle onto the concrete onto his back, and he gets up and finishes the match. So he's definitely not human, man. PCO is not human.
No, yeah. When he was building up the whole PCO character, I was just like, I couldn't believe it was the same guy. To be honest with you, I loved him. When he was in the Quebecers and the pirated gimmick and stuff like that. I always liked his various, but then this happened, and I'm. After a number of years of not seeing him, and I was just like, I hadn't watched for a couple of years. I think when I, divorced my first wife, and then I met my second wife. Her son was a huge WWE fan, so that's basically how I fell back into wrestling, and absolutely loved it. You know what I mean? It's just like, wow, there's a lot of great talent, but like you said, I started watching Impact, and I refused to watch Impact for a couple of years, and then my friend kept just pushing it on me. And then I watched Slammiversary that year, 2018. I was like, holy crap, this was a really good show. And then I was an Impact fan since,
Yeah, no, I mean, it's when Dixie Carter was running it, she was bringing in anybody that the WWE had released. because remember there was no AEW back then, so and they weren't really releasing too many people. But Damien Sandow, when Damien Sandow was released, they brought him in right away, and he kind of failed miserably. I don't know if you remember him in Impact Wrestling. He tried to do this silly character, didn't work out. But what Scott D'Amore is doing, Scott D'Amore is looking for talented individuals like the Ace Austins, the Rich Swans. He just signed Jason. Well, then it just signed him, but he brought in a kid named Jason Hotch, who could be the future of Impact Wrestling. So he's looking for talented individuals, from what I see, and he's really, like I said, knocking it out of the park, man.
I think Scott D'Amore's got a great mind for the professional wrestling business, and to be able to run the company the way that it probably should be run as like a professional wrestling company. He's just, like I said, he's a former wrestler himself, and he's done some really good stuff. And his managerial roles, I thought, were great. You know, and I just think he has the potential to take that company to another level. And I think slowly but surely, he's getting there. Yeah, no, my only gripe is he's on TV too much. That's all. He's on TV too much with his headset. He's always wearing the headset. And that's my only gripe. But otherwise, I think he's doing a great job. I mean, which is it? It's better to, if as long as he's putting on a great product, and there's always going to be things that we don't necessarily like about a certain product as much as we love it. I still watch the NWA, and there's a lot to complain about there now. I was watching it, but I kind of lost interest in it. So I mean, I don't know if it's the reason that I've been just a big fan of the NWA for decades that it's not letting me turn away from it, as bad as some of it is. And there's a couple guys from my area that are actually on the TV, so that's another reason that makes me tune in. That the love of seeing, hey, Wrecking Ball Legursky, he lives 2 towns over from me, or something to that effect. You know what I mean? Because I want to see these guys do their thing on national television. So it's kind of cool that way, Yeah, and they're also bringing back like older stars like Ricky Morton and Bobby Fulton. I think Nikita Koloff showed up on a few episodes. So that's cool. That's cool to see those guys. But I don't know. When NWA first came on and they filmed the show in the TV studio, I was like, this is awesome. TV wrestling's back. But I don't know. I just lost interest. I think when it came back from the pandemic, it just really suffered. It's that's true. That's true. It was like really good up until that, and then they were gone for probably a year. They didn't produce any television, but they would do some sort of online something or other, online content. But when they came back, I just remember that first pay-per-view. I was like, damn, this show sucks. Like, literally. And then it's just like, and then they were bringing in Tyrus. Tyrus was brought in and walking to the ring, going up the steps, and don't want to make fun of anybody, but he looked winded just from being in the ring for about 3 minutes. Literally. It's funny you say that because Billy Corgan's here. He wants to talk. No, he wants to talk to you right now. No, just kidding. I have no problem sitting down with him, telling him my opinion. So you might see me on Twitter griping a lot. I'm not sure what happened with Nick Aldis, but Nick Aldis was a great champion for them. He's a great person to lead the NWA. So I'm not sure exactly what went on behind the scenes. I can't speak on it, but. And that's another thing, Scott D'Amore. They saw Nick Aldis was available. He brought Nick Aldis right into Impact Wrestling, and he's probably going to be the next Impact Wrestling World Champion. But Tyrus, back to Tyrus, I'm not sure why they put the title on Tyrus. It's I think it's one of those guys. I'd rather have it on Ricky Morton than Tyrus. To be honest. I mean, he came close once, if you remember correctly. But with that, it's just that I think it was for the attention. Because he's on a major news network, which he's on Fox News, cringeworthy in itself. But I don't talk politics or news on my show normally. But we'll stay away from politics. We'll stay away. So it's just I don't want to. Yeah, but I think it's just because of the popularity. As many of the wrestling fans don't like it, or how many of them actually? I mean, NWA fans actually watch Fox News. I mean, they're not tuning in. None of those fans, I don't think, are crossing over to watch the NWA. That's just my opinion.
Wrestling fans, promoters, wrestlers, and anyone who enjoys pro wrestling now have something new to be excited about. The Wrestling Fans International Association, the WFIA, is back. WFIA is an association that exists to promote, grow, and support professional wrestling throughout the world. Membership is free. Your membership includes a free digital bi-monthly publication of the Wrestling Fan News newsletter, association updates, voting privileges, and much more. Please go to TheWFIA.org. That's THEWFIA.org, and become a member today.
Yeah, I don't. Just back to the Fox News thing for a second. I don't think people should be determining whether or not they like Tyrus as a wrestler because he's on Fox News or CNN or MSNBC. That's just if you don't like. I'm not a fan of what he does in the ring. I don't think he's very talented. I mean, I don't want to get him upset or well, I don't want him chasing me down in Windsor, Ontario, in case but I'm not a fan of his. I've watched his ring work and
never been.
I'm not really a fan. I'm not sure why. Like you said, he's gassed after what 5-6 minutes.
If that, to be honest with you, if that.
And he moves in slow motion. I've seen some of the moves. It's like he just throws his punches like this. Just not a fan. Don't know why he has the title.
It's not convincing. That's the other thing.
That's perfect. He's not convincing, man.
Yeah, but you mentioned Ricky Morton, and I watched night one of the Crockett Cup last night, and I don't know if you've tuned in. I know you said you don't really watch it, but
I didn't watch it.
But they said that it was they were kept teasing that Kerry Morton was going to turn on Ricky at points and this and that blah blah blah. But it turned out that both of them had a heel turn.
Also, Ricky and Kerry, father and son heel turn, huh?
Yeah. And I was just like, I kind of popped though. I'll be honest with you because it's just like it was because I like the element of surprise. That's the thing that always got me into professional wrestling was that. And that I loved about wrestling is that you can watch TV and you'll be surprised about something, it not being necessarily predictable. And a lot of wrestling today is very predictable.
Like, who do they turn on? Just curious. Who did they turn?
Geez, I'd have to go back and look, but I don't remember. I'm trying to remember the tag team that they were wrestling. It was in part of the tournament. I just remember they ended up using the belt. Yeah.
I guess the pay-per-view did not have your attention because you can't even remember who they turned on yesterday.
No. I mean, the only thing that I really was interested in, like, it was obviously night one of a tournament where they just brought in all these dang guys. You know what I mean? And just they were having a 24-team, the Crockett Cup 24-team tournament. And night one was usually just like overstuffed. It seems like there was an hour and a half pre-show that was taped during the Fan Fest during the day, which was. You can definitely tell that the pre-show was not live because they just kept jumping from match to match, like the edits. And I was just like, something seems weird here. This isn't recorded live. And then come to find out it was recorded at the Fan Fest. But yeah. And it just like the match that there's a couple singles matches and stuff like that I really enjoyed. I wanted to see the EC3 and Thrillbilly match because I really like
EC3's in NWA. He's
the national champion now. He's
okay. I didn't know that. He should be the NWA world champion then, not Tyrus.
He might. I mean, you never know. He might be down the road. I mean, I thought that they need to give it to somebody more credible, in my opinion.
EC3 and just would be perfect. Would be perfect.
Yeah, and just because
I might start watching it now because I'm a big EC3 fan. I forgot his name for a second. Sorry. See, that doesn't have my interest.
That's all right. But just because, he like Tyrus is on Fox doesn't mean they got to give him the title. They can give it to somebody like EC3 because EC3, I think, is a guy that's kind of got shafted a couple times on the couple WWE runs that he's had.
Yeah, no. I mean, his first run, they let him go. I think Derek Bateman was his name. Was it Derek Bateman?
I think so.
Then he came to he was Ethan Carter III. He came to TNA, and he was Dixie Carter's nephew. And he just absolutely killed it. And he reinvented himself and became a top star. And if he's in NWA, if he's signed to NWA, he should be the champion. That's. I might start watching it now because I'm a big fan. Yeah,
I mean it's improved a little bit because there was a period there that it was just cringeworthy TV. Yeah, but I mean that's. Excuse me, with really any wrestling show, to be honest. It could get cringeworthy and then sometimes it'll improve. But the NWA seems to be on a better track. But Billy Corgan has also put out a statement that he hasn't necessarily, he's not booking for the fans, which I thought was just ridiculous.
Well, who's he booking for?
I mean, wouldn't you be wanting well, that's the joke that everybody keeps saying too, because don't you want the fans to buy the tickets and come into the arena? That's what it's for.
Well, maybe he's booking for James Iha of the Smashing Pumpkins. The Smashing Pumpkins band.
I saw him in concert on James Iha.
Okay.
He was in a side project with what the hell was the guy? Bunny Carlos from Cheap Trick. Okay. I don't know. Okay. Yeah. It was fun. Cool. Great guy. Yeah, I got to meet Bunny Carlos. I'm a huge Cheap Trick fan, so it was fun. It was a fun night.
They had a couple of catchy tunes, Cheap Trick.
Yeah. Yeah, I like them.
They're no U2, but they had a couple.
I like them. I saw some tickets now. I guess. Oh, I think that you posted the article. The
$850.
That's just crazy.
That's ridiculous. That's
stupid.
Stupid.
I bet you the cheap seats are what, $100, right? Probably.
No, those were the cheap seats. That was
Oh
the
my God.
the fourth level. So there was like 4 levels, and the top level is for $850.
That's crazy.
Las Vegas. It's ridiculous.
Damn, that's ridiculous. I think every time they come to Hartford, well, I don't think actually, when was the last time they came to Hartford? God, a bunch of years ago, but I think that they were kind of expensive too. But yeah. So tell me about how you got interested in wrestling media, becoming part of the media.
This
has got to be fun. Right?
I don't know. It's just it all happened. It's not like I planned on becoming part of the media. I've saw some podcasts on YouTube. They're also on Apple Podcasts. People doing podcasts, wrestling podcasts, and I thought, maybe I could do a podcast. Let me try doing a podcast, see what I could do. And before I actually started doing a podcast, I was writing for a company called Kayfabe Today. They don't exist anymore, but I was doing some writing for them, Impact Wrestling writing, which I kind of enjoyed. And while I was thinking about doing the podcast, I didn't really know anything about YouTube, how to get it going or how to record it or anything like that. And just out of the blue, Nick McDaniel from Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network contacted me, and he said, I'm reading your stuff on Kayfabe Today. You cover Impact. Would you be interested in doing an Impact Wrestling podcast for Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast? And I'm like, sure, I would. I'd love to. And he told me what I needed to get, how I could record, and it all became a learning process. So I did podcasting for them, and it turned into doing interviews for them. And I really freaking enjoyed it, man. I really enjoyed it doing it, and just progressed from there. Actually, you know what? I fibbed a little bit. I forgot about one thing before Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network. I did have another podcast I was doing with another guy that we recorded maybe 4 or 5 podcasts. It didn't work out, and I kind of got discouraged because it turned into a bad relationship. We didn't get along really well. I know he was a wrestling fan on Facebook, and I said, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" And I didn't really know him. He really didn't know me, and we started doing. I don't really remember the name of the podcast we were doing. I'm trying to remember the name, but anyway, that was my first experience in doing a podcast. But then when Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast Network came along, I just took off from there. It just progressed. I started doing it, started doing more interviews. Actually, for them, I interviewed Bobby Fulton, which was very exciting, and I started getting positive feedback. And once I started getting the positive feedback, I'm like, well, maybe I'm doing okay with this. Maybe people are enjoying listening to me, which was mind-boggling to me. It's like my wife doesn't like listening to me, and but there's somebody in Boise, Idaho, who enjoyed my podcast. I'm like, to me that was mind-boggling, mind-blowing. So, like I said, just progressed from there. I eventually left Tapped Out and started my own thing on YouTube, the Lions Pro Wrestling Network, Shooting Up North, and started interviewing. Finally got a connection with Impact Wrestling, got some Impact Wrestling stars, and here I am with you right now.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Sorry for the long answer there, but yeah. That's
all right, man. It's great because it's really fun to hear how things originate and stuff, because it's I don't know. My story is, I guess, not that interesting. I did college radio for a little bit and then moved to public radio at some point. And I wanted to get into radio again after being absent for 20 years or something like that. And then that's about the time where I discovered pro wrestling again. Not discovered, but, basically started becoming full on obsessed again. And then that's when I, fuck it, I'm doing a podcast, a wrestling podcast instead of, and then it turned into just a wrestling podcast. And then here I am, approaching 300 episodes. And it's, there's been times I've been frustrated. Obviously, I'm sure you might have been frustrated doing a podcast at times. There's just
countless times.
There's times where you reach out to people either to get, left unread or just ignored, period. You know what I mean? And it's just, you're just trying to, kind of do something cool. That's it. It's a lot of fun to do, but at times it's just, it could be really discouraging. And that's kind of, like I said, disappointing in a way sometimes.
Yeah. You want to hear a funny story? Let me tell you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Early on in podcasting, I don't know are you familiar with Aaron Hanari, New Japan Pro Wrestling?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I interviewed him when he was Toa Hanari, when he was still up and coming. And I was interviewing him for Tapped Out Podcast Network. And it's going to be a little, depending if you think blood is gross, it's going to be a little gross. But for some reason, I'm doing the interview, and 5 minutes in, I start getting a nosebleed. I don't know if I was nervous. I don't know if it was just dry air, and I'm trying to interview. It was audio, thank goodness. It wasn't video. But I'm holding my one nose shut and trying to ask questions at the same time, and I'm trying to get the blood to stop, and it won't stop, and it was just bleeding throughout the entire interview, and he's just talking and talking and talking, and I'm like, hurry up, I gotta go, right, in my head, but because the blood is, I don't have any tissues, I'm holding my nostrils shut, but that's the joys of podcasting, man.
Yeah. Well, there's always something ridiculous and funny that happens, or you know what I mean, like was a couple weeks ago I literally just spilled a cup of iced tea all over my laptop in the middle of so I was just like, oh hell, trying to dry it out. Luckily it didn't get too deep into it, you know what I mean, so I'm still using the same laptop, but
that's good.
And it was just like, oh god, man, my laptop's fried, I'm not going to be able to record anything anymore, I'm just going to have to try to do stuff on my phone. It's just there's always mistakes like that. And the worst part is if sometimes drink beer on air.
There you go. I actually got one better. I'm interviewing Mickie James, Impact Wrestling. Halfway through, I realized, oh man, I didn't hit record. And
no way.
Interview, I didn't hit record, so I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna hit record now. And but you hit record. But if you're on Zoom, it says the announcement comes on and says recording has begun.
Yep.
And it happened right in the middle of Mickie James answering a question, and she's like, "Did you just hit record now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I forgot to hit record." And she's like, "Oh," and I'm thinking, "That's it, I'm screwed. I'm already like 8 minutes in, and Impact Wrestling, you only get like 12 minutes." And she's like, "Do you want to start the interview over again?" I'm like, "Oh, that would be terrific. Thank you so much, Mickie." She goes, "Yeah, let's just start it over again." So we just started the whole thing over again. Thank goodness. But stuff like that. You gotta roll with the punches, man.
Available on all streaming platforms. It's professional wrestling's greatest, largest, privately owned wrestling library. All the classic hits, flips, slams, and pins of yesteryear are on one place. It's Ultimate Classic Wrestling. Check out the Nature Boy Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Mr. USA Tony Atlas, Tito Santana, Rick Martel, a who's who of professional wrestling's greatest spotlight stars ever to grace the squared circle, all in one place. Grab the best seat in the house for memories and mayhem on Ultimate Classic Wrestling.
I know we're telling some funny stories, but the one night that or really early on, I just started getting a really upset stomach, and I ended up recording it in 3 different parts because I had to excuse myself twice. So luckily, I don't remember who it was, but luckily the person was patient. So it was. It's kind of, there's always going to be some sort of ridiculous story. So now I make sure that I'm feeling well enough and relieve myself before I hit that record.
That's the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Don't hold it in. Don't hold it in. Just
no. I mean, sometimes what's the longest interview you've done? I know some of yours are relatively short because of.
Too long. Yeah, I don't. I try not to talk too long. I've seen interviews on YouTube that are like an hour and a half, 2 hours long.
Yeah.
I just think. And I apologize if that's how long some of yours are. But I just think you're going to lose people's attention if it's too long. So I try to keep it half hour, 45 minutes at tops. The longest one I've ever done was maybe an hour.
Yeah,
close to an hour.
I now try to condense mine to about an hour. Sometimes I might need to edit them down a tiny bit because I do put in some commercials from like other podcasts or authors that that I put in here. But the longest interview I've ever did, and I was trying to get out of there for quite some time, and no offense to the guy, was Metal Maniac, and he kept me for 4 hours, man. 4 hours, and we started at 10 o'clock at night East Coast time, and he lives in Hawaii. So needless to say, I got done at 2 a.m. and I'm sitting here like,
my gosh.
you want to talk about somebody?
I would have ended the interview at about an hour. I would have said, okay, we got to wrap this up. Yeah, that's like if I'm doing an interview and I want to wrap it up, I'm like, all right, one more question, then we can wrap it up, and then and that's my all right, we're done. That's my skill that we're done.
Literally, he could talk like you ask one question and he'd go on for a half hour without me having to get in there at all.
Yeah, there were wrestlers that do that. Like Sean Stasiak, he goes on and on and on and on, which is good. Makes my job easy. But then you got some of the wrestlers, and I'm not going to mention any names, who will answer with like a 2-word answer. Like you ask them like a 15-word question, and you get like a 2-word answer, and you're waiting for more, but you don't get it, and then you got to go on to the next. And you try to make a connection. You can't always make that connection.
Yeah, it's really bizarre how that could happen sometime. Because it's like you sit there kind of struggle a little bit trying to get it out there and trying to get it to work. Yeah,
I know. It's about 95% of the time I could get it to work, but that 5%. It's like, come on, give me something, right? I'm asking you a very crucial question here, and just I get like a 2. That something like yes or yes or no answer. It's just, come on, man, give me more than that.
It happened recently, and it's I'm not going to mention names, but it is a current NWA wrestler that was, and trying to get them to talk and if I talk to them in person, they're fine.
Yeah.
But it's sitting there asking questions about the career, and it's just like, and then somebody messaged me after I released it. It was like, was he asleep when you were? I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like I tried, but I felt it was good enough to release. So.
All right, cool, man.
We're not talking.
I hope you feel this interview is good enough to release as well.
Yeah, I watch your stuff. That's why I asked you on here. Because
man, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think you're very good at what you do, and and now
give me a hug.
And now I like and you've gotten some success through podcasting on YouTube and stuff like that, and I'm pretty happy with for you. You've done some really cool stuff.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, and what have we been talking about, a year now? So through social media, maybe a little bit longer.
Too long. We've been talking too long, man. We're gonna have to cut it. About a year or so. Yeah. I'm not sure how we connected, but yeah, we connected about a year ago. I can't remember how we connected.
I think it was something you posted in a Facebook group probably, and then I commented or reached out, something to that effect. And it's it's just it's cool when you can connect with people like that online. You know what I mean? I've met many people. Some people I consider, I might not have actually met them in person, but consider very good friends. Sure. It's kind of interesting, and especially the wrestling world is very unique. It's very it's really weird, man, to be involved in the world of professional wrestling and podcasting, because there's some really great people out there. There's some really strange people, but there's just certain things you're only going to see in the world of professional wrestling. Seriously.
Right on, man. I agree 100%.
Yeah. So obviously you've started writing for another site, and then I don't know if you want to bring that up, and then now you're working with Body Slam.
Bodyslam.net. Yeah, I was with PW Mania, but no longer with them. You know the story. We're not gonna. Yeah. I don't need to talk about it on air. But I left PW Mania, and just had my first articles published for Bodyslam.net this week. I'm covering mainly the Japanese wrestling scene, so I got a lot of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Dominion was on this morning. I don't know if you watched Dominion.
Not yet. I was sleeping, I think.
Yeah, well, I wanted to wake up because it was starting at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
I wanted to wake up, but I slept till about 5:30, and I was like, oh no, 2.5 hours in. So I ran down to my computer and I watched the rest of the show. But so I got a couple of articles up for on bodyslam.net for the Dominion show.
You're pretty dedicated. I mean, waking up early just to watch wrestling.
I'll tell you a little secret. It's better to watch early in the morning because there's nobody bugging me saying, "Oh, come on, you got to mow the lawn," or "Come on, I want to go food shopping," or "Come on, I want to go to the hardware store and look for a door." Right. So, and my daughter's asleep, my wife's asleep. It's just me downstairs. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, watching professional wrestling, and you can't get anything better than that.
Let me ask you.
Nobody bugging me. It's just me, my computer, and professional wrestling.
Let me ask you. I know from personal experience, so this is why I'm asking you. So, is your wife a fan of professional wrestling at all?
Nope. I mean, I could tell her. I could. I had Moose was on my show, and I was like, "Oh man, Moose is going to be on my show, huge star." She's like, "Okay,
yeah,
okay." I'm like, I felt like grabbing her. It's Moose.
I don't think that she
huge star. Come on.
I don't think she understands. My wife, I'm going like that. Certain guys I'm talking to, I was like, "No man, this guy was like really something in the '80s." She's like,
come on.
"Okay." I was like, forget it. But then who did I have on here? I said, crap. There was somebody that she completely freaked out because she, when she was a kid, she watched, but then she grew out of it. Who was, I don't remember. There was somebody that she like, no, you're lying.
Mario Mancini?
No, she has no idea who Mario Mancini was until me.
I got to tell you, I mean to cut you off, but you get some pretty cool guests. Like I remember Mario Mancini. You've had a couple of other, I don't like to use the word jobbers, but a couple of other WWE enhancement talents on as well. But Mario Mancini. Who was the other one that you had on?
I know I had Barry Horowitz.
You said recently, there was one guy who never did it. Oh no, AJ Petruzzi. Petruzzi. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you to Mario Mancini who actually recommended me. I know Mario because he lives locally, so he owns a school locally, and they promote shows through the school. So I know him from going to the shows and stuff like that. So I guess AJ had never done one, just kind of not sure if he wanted to do it, and then boom, Mario said recommended me. Same thing happened. Excuse me, with Sonny Blaze too. I reached out to Sonny Blaze and. He asked Mario because we were mutual friends on Facebook, and so he recommended me as well. And then now, I still talk to Sonny. You know what I mean? Semi-regularly. It's just that's the world of professional wrestling. It's cool because things like that happen, and it's just like these guys didn't have their story out there, and that's probably the purpose of this podcast is to get some of these guys that not a lot of people probably remember, or maybe just remember the name and then get their whole story out there.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the name Mario Mancini, I'm like, holy crap, he got Mario Mancini. I might have been the only person in the world that was like, excited that he got Mario Mancini. But yeah, no, that's that was something, man. I was like, wow, because I remember Mario. I never won a match in his life. But still, man, it's back in that era, right? Back in the old era.
In our era, when I when I was doing research for that, I looked it up, and it claimed that he had won 3 matches in his career in WWF, and I think one of them might have been in the New Haven Coliseum, which was the Coliseum that I would frequent, and I don't remember that.
Was one of them against Johnny Rods? Or?
That's a good question, actually. I have no idea.
So. He's quick roll up or a quick sunset flip for the victory,
right? But I always enjoyed Mario because they always billed him from Milford, Connecticut. I'm from the New Haven area, Connecticut. So anytime they billed him from New Haven, Connecticut, or Milford, Connecticut, I was kind of excited because I was, hey, that's only like 20 minutes from where I live. You know what I mean? So it was kind of, it's one of those things. You always got to support your local guy, So I always thought that there was always a chance, at least in the beginning. And then once I realized how wrestling worked, then I was like, no, not so much. So,
all right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I always try to reach out. I've actually before I went on air, I shared a couple guys that I'm actually in the midst of getting to talk to, and it's it is fun when you get to sit down and talk to these guys about their career, right?
Yeah, man, I know. I had I don't know if you saw my Larry Zbyszko episode.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, that was I mean, I remember I reached out to him, and he was like, "Send me your phone number." I'm like, holy crap, Larry Zbyszko wants my phone number. So I gave my phone number, and 5 minutes later, my phone's ringing, and it says Larry Zbyszko. I'm like, holy crap, Larry Zbyszko is giving me a phone. Like, should I answer it? Should I answer the phone? I'm like, so I answer. I'm like, hello? He goes, yeah, hi, this is Larry Zbyszko. You contacted me? And it was like, am I asleep? Am I awake? Am I dreaming? Larry Zbyszko is giving me again. He set it up. It costs a little bit of money because it's Larry Zbyszko, but I paid the money because it's Larry Zbyszko.
Larry Zbyszko, former AWA World Champion, former WWF World Tag Team Champion. So the guy was kind of worth something,
Trivia question: Who did he hold the title with? The WWF tag team titles with? Trivia question. This. Come on, you could do it. You could do it, man.
I do know this because I just saw the picture recently. Jesus, it wasn't Tony Gurria, was it?
Absolutely was Tony Gurria.
Oh my God, I got it right. There you go.
I got it right. Tony Gurria. But he called me up and we talked for a bit, and he was asking me, why does everybody have a podcast? And I was like, well, it's fun to do. And I said, you should do a podcast, Larry. And if he said I'm thinking about it, I was gonna go for it and say, well, I could be your co-host. Right. But he was like, he's not interested in doing that. When he came on, we just had like an hour conversation about Bruno and everything. It just seemed so real, surreal. When I was speaking with Larry Zbyszko, and Zbyszko was on my show. It was just amazing.
It's something else, man. Yeah.
Just an amazing experience.
Now, I don't know if you've watched stuff on like Peacock or whatever, but they've uploaded all the 1980 episodes of Championship Wrestling that lead up to the feud of Larry's turn on Bruno.
Oh yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday, man. I don't know if you saw that first run, but I remember seeing it first run. I couldn't believe what was going on, man.
No, I think I was probably 5 years old at the time. I don't think I had quite discovered wrestling for like another 2 or 3 years. I remember my grandfather, like I told you earlier when we first started, he's a big Bruno fan, and he was like, "Oh, Louis, I don't trust Larry. He's going to do something to my Bruno." And I was it was like 80 when it happened, so I was 10. So I was like, "Grandpa, come on, they're friends. They're just going to have a friendly match. That's all it's going to be." Because there was no indication that he was going to turn. There was no indication. Oh, something just popped up here. Let me get rid of this. Sure.
Yeah. So there was no indication that he was going to turn because they leading up to it, like because they were just all Zbyszko wanted was a shot to prove himself to Bruno.
Right.
And there was no indication. And then when he hit him, when he started beating on him and he hit him with the chair 3 times, my goodness, I'm like, my hand is over my mouth, my eyes are wide open. I couldn't believe what was going on, man. And my grandfather calls me up. He goes, "That goddamn son of a bitch, Larry Zbyszko. Bruno's gonna kill him, Louis. Bruno's gonna kill him." And so that's it.
Hi, this is Bob Smith. You might remember me from my years at Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine. Well, now I've started a brand new podcast called The Outdated Wrestling Hour. Yes, we're going to take a whimsical look back at the wrestling figures, stars, and trends from years gone by. We're talking 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and a whole lot more. There's going to be laughs. There's going to be fun. There's going to be action. You name it. Please tune in for The Outdated Wrestling Hour wherever you get your podcasts.
Read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by Russellville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harris, and Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories, including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at Russellville.com. Russellville. It's where wrestling lives.
I didn't mean to interrupt your text message. Message.
No. My wife is my kid's running around upstairs. So
no.
my wife's working, but no. I mean, it's Larry was probably one of my favorites in the 1980s growing up. I mean, he had his AWA run I thought was incredible. He spent some time in the National Wrestling Alliance as well, and I wanted to get the chance to talk to him. But he never threw a number out at me, and I was just kind of like, this is probably not going to work in my favor.
Yeah, I had to save some money for it. Let's just say I had to take out a second mortgage on my house to pay it. So no, he didn't want that much, but it wasn't a low sum, but it wasn't an astronomical high. Like Ricky Morton wanted money, but Ricky Morton wanted $20, and I was happy to give Ricky Morton $20. And a few years ago, and but he's never returned my messages since then. So maybe he didn't like the interview, but anyway.
Yeah, I've spoken to Barry Horowitz a couple times. You know,
Yeah.
He was to me that was the first interview I think I did on this podcast. Maybe it was either him or JT Dunn, but either way, what did I just say? Barry had some really interesting stories, and I think that the funny part is he wanted to call me on the phone too and talk about beforehand before he approved of coming on the podcast. And once I mentioned the New Haven Coliseum to him, he called me on the phone probably like a half hour after I gave it to him, and once I mentioned New Haven Coliseum, it was over. He was sold, and then we had this great conversation. He's like, "Oh, I remember that. I was there this many times," and then he was kind of impressed. I guess he did not want to get stuck. I guess he had been in podcast interviews before with other people that basically kind of did not speak to him fully. You know what I mean? They were kind of talking about other things and talking to other guests and not keeping him in conversation.
Yeah, no, I got you, man. So, when did you interview Barry Horowitz? How long ago was that?
Oh, geez, had to be 20. I started this in 2019, I think. There's no 2020, so it's 2020, I think. Yeah.
Right, cool. Just get him back. Can you get him back on the show? Or
I mean, I could always reach out to him and see what's up. I would love to. I'd love to follow through. I met him in person one time after that, like a year or so later at a signing. So I had to go down there. He remembered me. It was fun.
Did you guys do one of these when it was over? Did you pat yourself on the back?
No. That's another guy that he's one of those guys that he treated as enhancement talent for most of his WWF career. But that guy could work. He had a great career.
I think they tried to give him a little. Was it WWE or was it WCW? He got a little bit of a push.
It was WWF, yeah, but then WCW.
Okay.
Yeah, he went back to being a squash guy in WCW. Yeah.
Okay, I remember him getting a little bit of a push. I think he got a victory over a top name. I forgot who
Chris Candido.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right, Chris Candido.
Yeah,
that's absolutely right. He beat Chris Candido.
Yeah. So So you're doing all that stuff. What else do you got coming up?
Well, I just did an interview today with Rick Recon. I don't know if you're familiar with Rick Recon, ISPW heavyweight champion. Great interview. Actually, it's on my YouTube channel now. I haven't posted to social media yet. Okay. I was supposed to do an interview today with Cyrus the Destroyer from All Japan Pro Wrestling, but he hasn't returned my message, so I don't think that's happening today.
Yeah. That's the glove of professional wrestling, isn't it? Like that's one of the things that sometimes you'll be all in, and then sometimes they just go MIA in that day. But they get busy. A lot of times they'll end up.
Don't get me wrong. Cyrus is a great guy. He's a friend of mine. But he's probably training or something, or he's cutting promos. He's got a lot of things going on right now. I'm not saying anything bad about him in case he watches this. Cyrus, I love you, man. Don't get upset. Don't get upset.
No, people get busy. It happens.
Cyrus is a good guy. He's a good friend of mine. He does fantastic work for All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yep.
And just writing articles for bodyslam.net. Do I have anything else? I have a few. There was one interview. I was trying to get some guys from the Maritimes. I don't know if you're familiar with the Maritimes, Kobe Christ and Mia Malik. I'm trying to get some of those guys on.
Those names sound familiar. Yeah. But before we get out of here, we'll go in a couple minutes.
Come on, man! We just started. We're ending already.
Well, I mean, we were going for 45 minutes.
We were going on for 4 hours.
4 hours,
I got a lot to talk about, man. Come on.
I'm sure your wife needs you, and I'm sure my wife is...
No, there's nothing more important than this right now, man. This is
the love of pro wrestling kind of gets you know what I mean? It's like the podcasting thing. It's I'm actually kind of on a little break, so I have enough material recorded, and I know people are listening that are going to last me until September if I drop one episode a week.
So this interview is not coming out until September?
No. I'm mixing. Mixing them all.
You don't have my permission to air this. Sorry. Goodbye. I'm out of here.
No, don't worry.
I'm kidding.
I'm swapping them all around. So
no, I'm kidding. I'm joking. Whenever you feel fit to release it, release it, man.
But so I'm actually on a kind of a break. So the month of June and July, I'm actually doing the bare minimum So,
Okay. Yeah, sometimes you got to do that, man. Sometimes you don't want to burn yourself. Like I burnt myself out so many times. You got to take a break once in a while.
once you're doing like 4 or 5 episodes a week and sometimes 2 or 3 a day,
that's too much, man. That's too much. I tried that, man. That's too much. It's too much.
Yeah. Well, when you're trying to, I don't know if it was me trying to make my mark or just trying to stay out there and trying to get my numbers up and all that stuff. It's very hard to keep your numbers up there.
I know.
So it's like I'm constantly busy, but I'm slowing down a tiny bit just for the couple months and then going full force. I'm already started to book guys for August.
Full force.
Yeah.
What's that? Jumping Jim Farmer. I'm going full force.
So yeah, I've gotten some good stuff and that, coming up in the future, and I just want everybody to watch, like, share, subscribe, and doing things like this, connecting with other podcasters, websites and stuff like that. And just, this is fun for me. This is a release. I work too much. Yeah.
This was fun for me too. I'm the one asking the questions and I gotta keep the ball rolling, but it's good being on the other side right now.
It absolutely is. I like it. I don't do it often, being on the other side, but it's fun to be asked the questions.
I'm glad you asked me to come on. I hope you asked me to come back.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to have you come back, and maybe we'll actually cover an event down the road. Maybe down in July or something like that. We'll do a live post show sometime down the road.
Oh yeah, now you get me excited, man. Let's do a live post show. Me and the Rickster.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I love. I don't go live often anymore. It's kind of it's just. I don't know. Sometimes there's no views. Sometimes there's people in the chat. Sometimes there's not. I like when people are in the chat. I look forward to that. I try to push that, but it doesn't always work in my favor.
I do the occasional live. Like I'll go live if there's like a breaking news, but I'll turn off the chat because then you can't, because everyone's going to be asking questions, right? So I just, like if I do like a post show, like a Impact Wrestling post show, and then I'll turn on the chat, then everyone can have a nice conversation. Right?
Yeah, that's the fun part about it. So
yeah.
Why don't you throw out where you're able to be found?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Shooting Up North. Facebook is the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. And you can find me on Instagram at Alliance PW Network. And I don't have any merchandise. I did have a T-shirt, but I think the company that was producing it is going out of business, but no merchandise. But those are my social handles. Please, and also YouTube channel, of course. How could I forget that? The Alliance Pro Wrestling Network YouTube channel. Head over there and hit that subscribe button. And if you're watching, hit the subscribe button here at the PWZ Podcast Network as well. You do a great job, man. I appreciate it. You keep up the great work, Rick.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I want everybody to go like, subscribe, share to Lewis. Everywhere, social media, all those things that he does, especially his YouTube channel. You get those numbers up and have fun with it. He produces some great content. Lewis, I want to say thank you once again for coming out here, man. Thank you.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate those.